Often if you're just moving to AWS, there's a whole bunch of different options that can make it very difficult to choose a database or persistence layer. So the intention of this video is to give you a framework or kind of a flow chart that'll help you decide what database technology to go with, whether that be a SQL, NoSQL, or a caching solution. So here we go. So let's go right into this. I'm just going to zoom in and scroll down here. And the first question that we want to answer is this for a prototype or is it for production? That's our first kind of filter question. And if it's for a prototype, then I see no other reason to just go with something basic like RDS, MySQL, or Postgres, simply because it's going to be very, very familiar to you. With the other options, you typically have to learn some kind of language or ORM, object relational mapper, in order to even use the underlying databases. But SQL is just so ubiquitous, so familiar. It makes sense just to go with the RDS MySQL option if you're just trying to get something started very quickly. So off to the second side here. So if it's for production, then the next question we want to answer is, do you need relations or not? That is to say, do you need, for example, a transactions table that contains an order ID, and that order ID kind of points to another table that contains more information about that order? If you need that kind of functionality, then we're going to go left in terms of needing relations. And the next question that we need to answer is, do you want a unmanaged or managed solution? And when I say unmanaged or managed, I mean this in the sense that managed comes with a whole bunch of freebies in terms of maintaining your database or your persistence layer. Things like auto scaling, things like monitoring, things like adding additional nodes very easily. All that comes very naturally with the managed solution. If you want to go with the unmanaged solution, then I just suggest going again with RDS, MySQL, or Postgres. It's going to give you the best bang for your buck, especially in terms of prototyping, but it's also very viable for production use cases as well. And if you want to go with a managed solution, the next question to ask, is this going to be consistent traffic or bursty traffic? If it's going to be for consistent traffic, then I would just say, go with Aurora RDS. And the reason that I say this is you get all the benefits of a fully managed RDS solution with auto scalability in terms of its storage and the ability to add multiple read replicas so you can very easily scale out your cluster. This is great for traffic patterns that are flat, predictable, or even cyclical traffic patterns can be suitable for consistent traffic as well. Overall, Aurora RDS is a fantastic solution. Probably not going to go wrong with it even if you answer no to some of these questions. And if you're not getting consistent traffic, so if the answer is no, then I would say go with Aurora RDS serverless. And the reason I say this is that you're going to get all the advantages of the normal Aurora RDS, but you're going to have serverless in the sense that you're not going to have to pay for uptime when you're not using the machine. And this is especially great for bursty traffic because you don't necessarily know when your traffic is going to come in. And if it does come in, it's going to be very bursty. So you can rely on the serverless component of Aurora to automatically scale up and scale down to handle that traffic for you, and also scale down when you have no traffic. So let's just traverse all the way back up here. So we were at need relations when we went down to the left. Now, if we don't need relations, we have a lot more options. So let's take a look at that. So the next question to answer is, do you need text-based search? This is a very kind of niche question. It's very rare to need text-based search. It's useful for things like autocomplete on like Google or any other search-based website. So if you do need text-based search, you only have a couple real options that'll work at scale. And those are Elasticsearch or Cloud Search. Elasticsearch being the open source solution that you can host on like an EC2 machine or a cluster of EC2 machines on your own. And Cloud Search is the AWS kind of competitor to Elasticsearch. It does a similar thing, except that it's obviously AWS technology. So if the answer was no to need text-based search, then the next question to ask is, do you need transactions? And when I say transactions, I mean, do you need to perform multiple updates to potentially multiple different tables all at once and need them to fail either as a unit or succeed as a unit? I have a great video on database transactions, so if you still don't understand this question, go ahead and watch that. I'll put that in the references section down below. And if the answer to this question is yes, so you do need transactions, then the final question for this section, I promise, is, do you prioritize ease of use or do you prioritize scale and optimization? And if you prioritize ease of use, then I would say go with MongoDB, and I believe they have a managed solution on AWS that handles storage and scaling and all that, and it's called SimpleDB. And that's going to be the, like I said, the fully managed solution that would compete with MongoDB Atlas. They kind of do the same thing. And the reason I say MongoDB does well for ease of use, it's just because it's super straightforward, super easy to get started, very, very intuitive in terms of the syntax. The only question is I have some doubts in terms of its scaling abilities, but that's a discussion for another video. Now, if we go to the right here, so if you prioritize scale and you still want NoSQL, then it absolutely makes sense to go with DynamoDB, hands down. You're going to get the best bang for your buck, the best performance, the ability to perform transactions, the ability to monitor your DynamoDB cluster very, very easily using CloudWatch tools. It's almost always a very good choice to go with DynamoDB if you're looking for a NoSQL solution that persists your data. So let's walk back up this tree. The last step is if you answered no to need transactions. So if you answered no there, then a very reasonable solution would be use a caching solution called Elasticache. And there's two flavors or two variants. You can either use Memcache or Redis, whichever one you're familiar with or whichever one kind of fits your use case. So that about sums it up. Let's just zoom out here so we can take a look at everything as a unit so you can kind of look at this from a bird's eye view. So hopefully this video helped you choose a database technology.